Hello, everyone. Welcome to this exclusive CMO panel discussion on the topic Creating a Brand for the Future with Internal and External Communication. In the past 2 years, CMOs have had the huge responsibility of doing more with less. While business models were being reset and reimagined, it was the Chief Marketing Officer who was responsible to communicate this to the customers, stakeholders, and employees. How can CMOs build a brand by making the right choices when everything is undergoing change and resources are limited? In this engaging panel discussion with leading marketers, we will explore the strategies for building connections with the customers and engaging with the workforce. And let me now invite and introduce to you the esteemed speakers for this session. First up, we have Lau Yin Mei, Group Chief Marketing and Customer Experience Officer, Malaysia Airlines. Lau Yin Mei was appointed the Group Chief Marketing and Customer Experience Officer of Malaysia Airlines Berhad, overseeing this newly streamlined division in the Malaysian Aviation Group of Companies in April 2019. Yin Mei joined Malaysia Airlines in May 2018 as Head of Customer Experience, bringing with her more than 20 years of leadership and management expertise in business strategy, management consulting, commercial, marketing communications, and operations in diversified industries. Our second speaker for today will be Chitravini Vanakon, Head Integrated Marketing Communications, Kasikorn Bank. Chitravini has been the Head of Integrated Marketing Communication for Kasikorn Bank, one of Thailand's leading banks, since 2015. Her experience includes an outstanding record of innovation, motivation, and working in a fast-paced environment. She plays a significant role in the focus on developing communication strategies in line with K-Bank's mission to empower every customer's life and business, making consumers feel that K-Bank speaks with them in a personal, simple, and approachable way. Next up, we have Saurabh Patel, Group CMO, IHH Healthcare. Saurabh is a seasoned consumer goods, consumer healthcare and healthcare services marketing and business leader with a stellar 20-plus year track record across Johnson & Johnson and now IHH Healthcare. Saurabh has lived in India, Singapore, and USA, growing businesses and brands across local, regional, and global markets in commercial, strategy, innovation, and activation-focused leadership assignments. He delivers consistent, sustainable results through strategic problem solving, driven by consumer centricity, technology and data analytics, creative and executional excellence, people leadership, and collaboration. And last but not the least, this session will be moderated by Amit Thapliyal, Vice President Marketing, PeopleStrong. Amit has over 15 years of global experience in enabling digital transformations, brand management, SaaS, and growth marketing strategies across industries. He is one of the early SaaS marketers with a keen focus on business impact and expertise in brand storytelling. In his previous assignments, he has led marketing and MarTech consulting for Fortune 500 brands and was awarded MVP strategy by Siteco. He led digital initiatives and Vinculum, where he spearheaded marketing-led growth initiatives across APAC and North America. Prior to that, at HCL, he launched several successful and award-winning products across B2C and B2B segments, leading with growth product-led. A very warm welcome to all our speakers today. We're looking forward to hearing some great insights with you. I would now like to invite Amit to take the discussion forward. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. And we meet this year again virtually. We are at an inflection point in our history. And as we get back to our stride, the role of a marketer has yet again undergone a sea change. Understanding, predicting consumer behavior was already very difficult. And even with the technology by our side, it has become even more complex as our lives ourselves are complicated with the changing world scenario. Brands, how consumers perceive brands, and how we marketers are gearing up for our future is a hot topic and one of the most pertinent issues almost all business leaders have today. With business margins getting hit, pressure is again on marketers to reinvent their marketing strategies that do more with less. Strategies that differentiate our brand in the increasing cacophony of brand messaging and yet remain one of the most important functions that drive business value is the theme of the day. Driving value both internally and externally has become even more important than ever before. And I'm pleased to host today a star-studded panel which will address these burning issues and answer how to create a brand that does more with less for both employees and customers. In the new digitally adapted world, there are three strategic pillars that drive value and revenue: experience, data-driven insights, and people. Together, they inform and dictate our brand messaging and execution. Let's talk experience first. My common question to all panelists would be, since their businesses run on experience, on customers who have an option to switch brands, and for employees who need to find the energy and meaning in their work life to help the brand come alive. Healthcare, banking, and airlines, these verticals thrive on brand experience. How has your organization adapted to these challenges, continued to give a seamless experience, and how do you plan to navigate future disruptions in the marketing landscape? Over to you, Lau.
Hi, Amit. I think you're absolutely right. Experience actually means even more, especially during this time and day. For us at the airline, as a global carrier, when the pandemic hit, we literally came to a complete halt. There was no one going to the airport. There was no one boarding our planes. There were literally no planes in the air or in the skies, right? Of course, except for the essentials. Now, we were at very high risk of, the common saying about out of sight, out of mind. As we are seeing recovery from the pandemic, we have to acknowledge that it is still the airlines and the aviation who's still suffering quite substantially. We do see businesses like F&B coming back, retail coming back, but unfortunately not so much for the aviation and the airlines, mainly due to, for instance, the borders closure and whatnot, which gives it even more important for us to say, look, how do we continue to stay relevant as an airline? We're not just going to sit around and wait for the market to come back, for our passengers to fly again. So with us, I think it was very critical. And what we did was very, very clearly three key things that we went out with. Number one, when the pandemic hit us, while we couldn't fly our passengers, we identified what are still the areas that we could engage with our passengers. What do they need right now? Do they need information? Do they need to know, what's going to happen to the tickets that they're bought and they can't fly, right? So we addressed that part. Focus number two was clearly to say, look, while we are attending to our passengers, we still need to maintain the contact with our addressable market, right? So we continue to have that kind of engagement, the top of mind reminders out there. So we launched things like the ASMR, that actually went viral everywhere. While we can't get that in person, it actually got that. Our ASMR went worldwide, But the third most important was we took that opportunity to really look internally and clean up our house, right? We look into how we could review the work that we do, revise and refine, because most importantly, setting a new way of working that sets us on a platform that we could really be more agile and be more able to respond very quickly, be more resourceful, because learning from that is a disruption could happen anytime, right? So what's the best way? It's not about hoping a disruption won't happen. It's of future-proofing ourselves. So I think very key thing is for businesses to know we need to be agile. We need to be resourceful, right? And we also need to be very focused in that, look, when things change, how are we going to respond to that changes and still putting customer as our center of gravity. So that's what we hold on to very, very dearly. And that's what we've been thriving on for the past 22 months and counting, as we hope and welcome our passengers to come and fly with us very soon.
I can't wait to fly in a Malaysian airline flight again.
Great. I can't wait to welcome you on board, Amit.
I will. I'll take you up on that. Chitramani, your thoughts, please.
For K-Bank, to ensure that we always ride along or even ahead of the customer experience, we always need to keep up with the changes of the our customers' behavior and lifestyle. As we all know that in 2 years pandemic time, it has changed our life like never before. So, for example, our mobile banking has accelerated. The usage has accelerated for about 70%. That means that most of the transactions are done in mobile, right? So with that, we need to make sure that we move all the experience at the branch to the mobile banking. That's what we need to do in a very short period of time to serve our customers during the change during the pandemic. Secondly, when we can do that for the platform, we move the behaviors, all the transactions, all the services to the platform, we are able to capture all the data from the digital journey that we plan for our customers to go through. So with all the data, it enables us to gain marketing advantages in many aspects. I want to address a little bit. I know all marketers know the advantages of having the data, but I want to address a little bit about the importance of acquiring the data. I know we know that the big source of data come from the big players like Google or Facebook. That are the third-party global players of data that we all gain advantages from. But we realized that the importance of acquiring first-party data, which is from our own platforms, on our own systems. So this year, in the past 2 years, we give the importance of acquiring the first-party data, acquiring it, analyzing it, and utilizing it effectively. So also the third thing that I would like to address is we need to grab the opportunities from the emerging technologies. I know we gone through the technology era of internet, mobile phone, right? And here comes new technologies like blockchain, AI, VR, AR, metaverse, and so on. So marketers need to grab the opportunities from these new emerging technologies to see how we can make use of these technologies to offer new products and service offerings, or even to engage new customers, or even to gain PR opportunities. So those are the things that I would like to give some thoughts for the marketers.
That's fantastic, Triveni. In fact, you touched upon a very good point, which is data, which we'll come back to very, very quickly once we finish with Saurabh. Saurabh, you've been in the industry for a long while. You've seen different aspects of it across Asia-Pac. What are your thoughts over it?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to COVID, I think every industry, including ours, has had to, change what we do fundamentally. And in a healthcare services context, the key change after COVID was the fact that as far as possible, people want to avoid coming to hospitals. They are worried that, that's where infections are, that's where COVID patients are. So if they can help it, they would not want to come in, especially for things like elective surgeries, which are optional, which are not an emergency. The other piece that happened is the fact that there is, on COVID, when COVID began 2 years ago, and honestly, even now, the amount of fake news and confusion there is out there, consumers and patients are looking for facts. They're looking for what really is this disease about, and, what should I do about it? And how do I sift through all of the miscommunication, etc., which is there? So I think these are two key realities which we kind of had to grapple with. And immediately what we had done at that point in time, and this is valid even now, is number one, we had to completely overhaul our content strategy, because people are looking for this kind of information. And honestly, we as a serious, reputed healthcare brand should be out there, getting rid of the myths and putting out facts which are easy for people to, access and consume and be clear about. So basically, our content strategy, which we rehauled, consisted fundamentally of 4 pillars. One is on inform, which is, the facts need to be put out there. And it's really our clinicians and doctors themselves kind of going out there and presenting facts about COVID. The second one was on caring, that, okay, now you know the facts, you need to take certain precautions, you need to do certain things to take care of yourself, not only physically, but even mentally, given, people are working from home and away from their families. The third one was basically on connection, which is that, we did a lot of Facebook live sessions, for example, where people could actually talk to our doctors themselves. So if a consumer or a patient is pregnant and wants to kind of just understand what are the COVID precautions I need to take for my pregnancy, or if somebody is a heart patient, they need to have that access to the clinicians. And last but not the least was this piece on reassurance, which is that we had to communicate, in a consumer-friendly manner, all the precautions which were being taken at the hospital in terms of, be it separate wards for COVID patients or the fact that there's sophisticated air filtering mechanism across the hospital which keeps the air clean. So the reassurance that, hey, we are doing everything we can to make sure that our hospital is safe and you can rest assured and come to us if you need to. So one was content. The second piece was telemedicine. Now, we already had plans to launch telemedicine, but we had to do it super fast because, you did want to give patients the access to do that. And in this part of the world, there is still a lot of gray area on telemedicine regulatory wise. There is a gray area on whether you can target new patients or whether you can only go for existing patients. But we worked around some of these and launched our services. And then the third thing which we had done, and especially in markets like India, where the load of COVID was so heavy, the healthcare system was completely, under so much stress. So we actually had a home care program for COVID where you triage and identify COVID positive patients who have very low symptoms. We had a program where they could be at home and then a doctor could monitor them through technology, etc. So net at the end of the day, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it was really about trying to keep the patient and the consumer at the center and understand their new reality. And in the case of telemedicine and home services, it's really about that if the consumer or patient can't come to you, what can we do to actually go to them?
Awesome. In fact, I must say, Saurabh, that in especially last year, what you guys did was not just marketing. You actually provided a lot of service to people all across the globe, and people needed it. As they went into chaos, they were anxious, they didn't know what to do. So hats off to you and all the healthcare providers in the world. The world needed you and you were there like superheroes. So kudos to you, all of you guys.
Thank you.
We move on to the next segment, where we talk about data. The world runs on data and insights that we glean across channels and systems from that data. The most successful modern brands are those who have the ability to integrate their systems, break silos, and create a single view of their customers to woo them, delight them, and make them stay forever. Especially now, it's not just about acquiring new customers, it's about creating new relationships and people, keeping them at the center of their business, as Saurabh said. So I'll just now start taking thoughts from our panelists now. Chitravini, the banking sector is burdened with and yet thrives on customer data. As a data-driven marketer, what have been your wins as far as successful customer relationships are concerned for customer retention and loyalty? And the second part would be, how can businesses benefit from analytical CRM systems to streamline their operations and improve business profitability?
Okay, thank you, Amit. I would like to give an example of our CRM program, which is the loyalty program for our affluent and high net worth customers. We know that this group of customers, they don't appreciate mass offerings. They are very individualism and they have very specific requirements. So we need to, with the CRM program that we invested in terms of the system, the process, the people, to make sure that the program is efficient to serve our affluent customers. We are able to gain customer intelligence from this program. We get to understand the insights and the interest one by one. So we are able, with this program, we are able to engage with them more effectively. Secondly, with this program, we are able to offer personalizations offerings to them. I think personalization becomes very ultimate goal for all marketers to be able to offer to our customers, as they are very individualism nowadays. They appreciate to be treated differently. So with this CRM program, we are able to understand each individual needs, each of them, what are their wealth appreciation, what are their investment types they required, and we are able to offer to them individually. Thirdly, I think with the program, we are able to trigger the need and offer the service in end-to-end digital throughout the digital journey without leaking to other offline journey at all. So with that end-to-end digital journey that we are able to provide with this program, we encounter less leak of the risk of leaking the data, as well as less risk of ensuring the smooth end-to-end journey throughout the transaction for our customers.
Fantastic. Love, yours is an exciting brand and an exciting industry to be in. And now I believe that since we've been locked up for the past good part of last year, everybody is raring to go travel. To elevate customer experience in a digitally transforming environment, businesses have had to become more customer-centric. From your experience, could you lay down for us the most efficient digital consumer strategies that are helping businesses today?
Sure, definitely. I mean, I'm pleased to hear that you're saying everybody can't wait to look forward to flying.
I am.
And that's really optimism, right? In the market. And I think you are absolutely right. Again, clearly digital, it's something, to be honest, it has emerged, more than a decade ago, right? But it is what the pandemic has done to accelerate the adoption of digital in all businesses, right? Businesses prior to this, some could be saying that, I don't need to venture into digital because I could sustain my business being offline. Or those who are trying to delay their venture into digital somehow realize that, look, we cannot underestimate the need for digital. So similarly for us at the airlines, digital plays a very important role, right? From the awareness, from the booking, and even from the point of gathering customer data and managing their expectations and also their preferences when they fly, right? So for me, I would say that I go by very strictly two key strategies when it comes to digital. So number one is be very clear to ourselves and be very honest as well. What role does digital play, right? And remember, this role is about what digital play to the consumers, to our customers, not to ourselves, right? Because I'm guilty of it as well, that we tend to impose our own expectations or what we know to the consumers. Give an example, like in the airline, we're so used to using the 3 alphabets abbreviations, right? So the mistake would be for me to impose this onto our consumers. For instance, KUL stands for Kuala Lumpur, Hong Kong is HKG, Brisbane is BNE, London is LHR. These are airport codes, right? For us, it's like our daily lingo. But in digital world, while we're trying to simplify, we need to understand it's not a conversation. So we only have that time to capture the market and the consumer. So if we tend to put these things and impose them onto our consumers, we may end up getting them frustrated because they don't understand, don't assume that they understand these terms that we use. So it's very important for us not to impose what our needs are to the consumers. That's number one. Number two is there is this need to go into hyper-personalization, right? Like what Mr. Triveni mentioned earlier, to understand the customer, to know what matters to them, in terms of their products and what they need. But how do we then able to reach out to them at the right time, at the right stage of their behavior, purchase behavior, and also in the right manner, all right? We need to know where to draw the line between getting that, I'm there, don't forget about us, versus on the other line where you go, oh, this is really annoying, stop bothering me. People tend to throw a lot of this digital EDMs, messages, following and whatnot. But that's where, as marketers, we need to know very clear and draw that line. And that line differs by different customer at their different stage of behavior, right? So as marketers, whichever industry you are in, I think it's important for us to know our customers. How do they want to be connected with us? In what manner? During what stage of their purchase? Whether it's desire or actually the final push for them to make that booking, right? And most importantly, to know that it is about addressing them personally and do not give them a template message, right? You wouldn't want to say, oh dear Amit, la 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 la, it's the same thing. That doesn't relate to you. So it's important to engage the hyper-personalization in all that we do. Yeah.
Fantastic. Personalization without trying to sell hard. That's what marketing is all about now. So we move on to Saurabh now. Saurabh, you've seen healthcare across APAC extensively over the years. Your industry needs digital strategies to drive patient volume, increase revenue, and drive market share more so in the past 2 years. What have been your insight-driven go-to frameworks to drive this growth? And with customer-facing channels essentially consolidating into digital, what consumer marketing tactics still work? What are the ones which are still relevant? Sorry.
Yeah. So Amit, before I answer that, I mean, a couple of pieces of context. So one is that, firstly, when it comes to healthcare, especially the parts of healthcare we operate in, which is, secondary and tertiary healthcare, it is still indeed a very high touch business. Meaning that obviously there are parts of the journey you can digitalize, right? Like for example, finding a doctor, booking an appointment, even telemedicine. But there are other parts of the journey, especially when it comes to specific conditions where, the person is going to have to come in at some point in time. So you can't really digitalize everything. So what's important for us is the fact that the seamlessness that needs to happen between the online and the offline, and the offline experiences in some ways need to be enhanced by the digital experiences. So I think that's one piece of context. The other piece which you talked about earlier is this entire piece on acquisition versus retention. And we realized that a lot of what we were doing was mainly on acquisition. Let me digitally try and find people who are looking out for healthcare, try and convert them, use SEO, SEM, etc. But retention is equally important as well. Especially in a scenario, in the scenario I just described earlier for COVID, right? And that is where we believe that the quality of the experience is very, very important. And our teams on the ground have done a lot of work on the physical experience. And to be honest, that digital experience actually needed to catch up. So fundamentally, that's what we needed to do. And the other challenge which we had is that since I oversee marketing at the group level, we are 5 or 6 separate markets, and all of them are in very different stages of their evolution, be it from a business point of view, be it from a technology point of view. So yes, the end goal is that you make the experience so customized and personalized. That is absolutely the end goal, which is the fact that, you want to give people more empowerment and more control of their own healthcare. But to get there are certain basics which we need to do. So to make sure that all of our markets had a common roadmap, to eventually get to the end point, we basically had a 3-stage approach in terms of the digital experience. The first stage is what we call access. So, I mean, basically in today's day and age, finding a doctor, booking an appointment, accessing your medical reports online shouldn't be that difficult. And, we need to make sure that the friction on that is reduced. And this needs to happen in a seamless way across key touchpoints. It could be your website, it could be your app, it could even be your contact center. Now, you can't do everything in all touch points, but you need to be very clear about the role. So there are certain milestones we defined, which the markets had to, kind of go through. The second stage of that journey is really what we call engagement. So this is where I might define a digital journey or a digital experience package, say for a diabetes patient, which is a combination of online and offline. So this is really about helping people manage their specific conditions. And this leads to empowerment, where after doing the first 2 stages, I have enough data where I can actually use platforms like CRM, etc., to have more personalized offerings and more personalized recommendations. This is also a stage potentially where I could bring in external partners to fill in product and service gaps across the healthcare continuum, which I don't offer. So fundamentally, a lot of our focus has been on improving that experience, even for very, very basic processes. And unless you get that right, the larger, longer term vision of personalization, customization, etc., become very difficult.
Fantastic. Most successful brands today do one thing right. And as we discussed before, that is putting people at the center of their business. While services are being productized, products inherently pack experience in that cute little box. We have already discussed how we need to see each consumer as an individual, But what about our biggest asset, our employees? People, our talent, play a major role in delivering that experience. And with that, bringing joy, energy, and meaning at work is the biggest mandate for any organization. And most often, the key role played by marketers is to ensure people are aligned to the brand's vision, because at the end of the day, they have to live the brand, they are the brand. Healthcare, airlines, and banking industry is synonymous to scale, volumes, and we have three of the biggest names in Asia right here to give insights on this bit. Lau, let's start with you.
Hi, Amit. I gotta say, right, you actually captured already 3 out of the 6 beliefs that we hold on very dearly to, Malaysia Airlines. Customer experience is a center of gravity, right? Digital is our universe, and clearly the other 3 were mainly quite aviation specific. So safety and security is our DNA, sustainability is our mission, and integrity is our commitment. And the most important, to be honest, underlying all this belief is actually what we hold on. People is our true north. And these people, when we talk about people, we talk about our staff, right? And these 6 beliefs, we actually get it communicated and cemented in all our staff across the globe. Yeah. So that's from cabin crew to your engineers, to your mass cargo, to your ramp handlers and your baggage handlers. Why? Because I think for us, especially in a service industry like us, we depend and we need our people to deliver what you said, the product that we have promised our customers, and also the brand promise that we have been assuring our customers of. In an airline industry, there's never been a normal day, right? There will bound to be surprises on a daily basis. It's just a matter of how severe these surprises are, right? From a simple, say, a passenger who wants to switch seats on board, right? To a more severe where you need to reroute the entire plane to the alternate aerodrome because of weather, or to the pleasure of having a birth, someone delivering a little baby on board. Now, each one of these requires on-the-spot decisions and actions to be taken. And who makes these decisions are basically our own people, right? So that's why we thrive a lot in ensuring our people are all aware and aligned to the goals of the company, right? And they are really, truly appreciated throughout the entire journey, because clearly they represent the brand. Every single one of us at Malaysia Aviation Group represents the brand. And with that, we need to make sure that they are empowered with the right tools, right? With the right authorities, and especially so when they do something of that greatness in the presence of other customers, that serves more than that. Whatever marketing activities I could hold, whether it's a 360 campaign or influencer campaign or KOL or whatnot, having our staff exemplifying Malaysian hospitality, amongst the customer at their natural environment serves weighs a lot more than any marketing campaign could be. So people has always been our true north, and it's something that we know and we abide by very, very strongly here with Malaysia Airlines.
Fantastic. So as we talk about airlines, we just spoke about airlines. Healthcare has played a very central role in our lives. But it's not very often we talk about the banking sector. You need money to get treated. You need money to live your lives. And in all this COVID hit scenarios, one sector which marched on was banking. Chitravini, how did you do it? How did you make sure that your brand essence kept alive through all these trying times?
Thank you, Amit. For K-Bank as a bank, people plays an important, crucial asset to us. They are crucial to the brand. They are crucial to the delivering of the products and services to our customers. There are many aspects. There are many things that we have been doing to ensure that our people plays key roles to deliver our brand purpose. I just want to give 3 examples that what we've been struggling to do and trying very hard to put in effort to build our people. Firstly, while we are directing to digitalization and data-driven culture, we need to ensure that we embark all our people into that same direction or the shared culture that we are directing to. We always keep them on the new journey that the companies and the management are driving towards. We always open up for them to unlearn and relearn the new things. I always use the words to my team that don't always use autopilot program. Always do new things, always learn new things. Encourage agility, diversity amongst our people to ensure that we adopt new skills for them, sufficient for them to move along with the company. That is the first thing. Second thing is that with the strengthened brand, we need to ensure that we need to strengthen our brand to strengthen our employees' preference and bonding. Our employees, just like Lao Yin said, are always the best spokesperson for the brand. They recommend the brands not only for the customer, but to their friends, their families. They are a very strong voice for us. So we need to ensure that while we move the brand forward, we also tag along our employees within that moves in every steps. Lastly, I would like to give the importance to the communications. In KBank, internal communication is as important as external communication. We need to ensure that all the internal 360 or two-way communications is always keep on and driving between the management, the employees at all levels to keep our employees along with the company. So those are the three aspects that we put the efforts for our people.
Thanks, Chitramani. Saurabh, your take on this?
Yeah, so when it comes to healthcare, there is this impression that healthcare consists of people who are very selfless, who are very mission oriented, and who are in it for the passion of it, which is largely true. But then we also realize that that's not enough, right? Because if you look at IHH, we are 6 countries, many different brands, Mount Elizabeth, Gleneagles, Pantai, etc. And while these are all different brands, there is a particular set of IHH values which kind of pulls them together. And one of the things which we realized is that obviously people know our values, but do they really know what those values mean and stand for in the context of my role, either as a marketer or a person on the ground or as a finance person, etc. So we want to make sure that these are not just words on the wall, but people really understand and embrace them. So one of the things we tried, and again, this was done in a few teams in the company, not necessarily across, but it will eventually happen, is let's really look at our mission as a function and really understand what these values stand for. And if we were to live these values as a function, what would that look like? So this actually led to something like a start, stop, continue exercise and action planning. And very interestingly for marketing, some of the key outputs that came out is that if, for example, patient first is one of those 5 values. So if we truly want to be patient first, are we spending enough money on understanding consumers from a research and insights point of view? Sure, we have certain things which we do, but can we do more? The other thing that came up was one of the values is excellence. So there is so much to learn in the digital space, in terms of new technology, etc. You need to have a more agile and a test and learn approach. Do we have, the resources or a lot of functions had the question that, is this okay for us in healthcare, given everything's about, life and death and saving lives? And then we kind of had to come back and answer that obviously there are things we do which are linked to clinical results where a certain set of protocols need to be followed. But honestly, if it's something to do with, say, patient communication, yes, we should and can do test and learn, and budgets for that would be made available. So I think this is just an example of something we try to do in a few functions, which we want to do in others as well. But I think the key result is that at the end of the day, if employees see that, there is a lot of effort made on understanding how they can do their jobs better in line with our values, And if they see that feedback, etc., is being implemented and it's being actioned on, that actually goes a long way. So I would say we've made a start on this, but there's a lot more work to do on this. But we believe that along with the intrinsic passion people in healthcare have, both of them are actually critical, to make sure you have a very, very engaged set of people on the ground.
That's amazing. These are amazing stories, Love, Chitravini, and Saurabh. And I'm so happy to be, I've had firsthand experience of some even more amazing stories from across Asia Pac. Us being the HR tech provider for Asia, we work with some of the biggest brands in the region, and we're proud to have, in this pandemic hit world, we were proud to power their business operations, their HR operations, and their people experience through technology. Whether it was running vaccination drives or reaching out to their employees on a daily basis, trying to motivate them through the chaos, or it was checking in on their family's health, arranging oxygen cylinders and medicines for them. There's a lot that brands did last year leveraging technology. And I wish we had time to go through all these wonderful, wonderful stories, but unfortunately, we don't have time today. So as we wrap up this session, this wonderful, wonderful session, and you've been a lovely audience, one last question for our panelists. What advice would you give not just to marketers, but business leaders today? What would be the 3 key takeaways for them to build a brand for the future inside out?
3 bullet points, just 3. I would say number 1 would be customer experience being the center of gravity. Whatever you do, whatever role you play in a company, is your customers that you should be thinking about. Yeah. I think the thing number 2 would be knowing that your people, like what we said, our people is always our true north. They will always be your strength, your assets, and the one delivering the brand. And last but not least is look at in every crisis, guys, there is an opportunity. Just look for it. Don't dwell too much in the negativity. It's about how fast you can jump back on, look at it positively, and look for opportunities, in everything, every crisis that could come along, right? So that would be my 3 key takeaways.
Chitravini?
Yes, 3 points that I would like to leave with. Firstly, I think with the current economic situations, all marketers are forced to drive performance marketing. So while we are doing that, we need to ensure that we find the right balance between brand building and performance marketing. While driving performance marketing will help us to ensure that we achieve short-term business goals, brand building is critical to solidify our perception amongst customers in longer term. So all marketers need to ensure that we balance both aspects in parallel. Secondly, we need to ensure that we involve all stakeholders as part of the brand building or building brand value. So stakeholders range from customers, employees, as we mentioned before, investor, regulators, board members, and so on and so forth, who are your key stakeholders. While strengthening the core brand value, we need to ensure that each aspect of the brand equity means differently or has different meanings for each stakeholders, so that we need to address all of those aspects as well. Thirdly and last but not least, we need to ensure that we strengthen all aspects in brand experience. We all know that branding is not about PR or communication. Brand includes all that matters in customers' experience, right? So we need to ensure that all those aspects are addressed and worked on, like products and service offerings, all the touch points, the company's vision on sustainability, all the service programs and so on and so forth that has the people outside the companies experience it. So we need to make sure that we address and cover all these aspects in brand building.
Fantastic. Saurabh?
Yeah, actually, a couple of my points are in common with Lauyan as well as Chitravani. So one is I would say that brand building is a marathon and not a sprint. So it's not so much about big campaigns, communication. Honestly, much more of it is about rolling up your sleeves and continuous improvement as far as the experience is concerned. So I think that is a very different mindset versus the only comms and campaigns mindset kind of thing. The second I would say is be consistent. Once you are clear about what your brand stands for and what it does not, be very consistent in your messaging. I've realized many times marketers themselves tire of their own messages because they live and breathe them day in and day out, but consumers don't. Many consumers don't even know them. So, that balance of consistency needs to be there. And the third thing, which I think is very relevant in our today's, digital and technology driven world, is never start with the technology. Start with the consumer pain point or problem you're trying to solve. Technology is just an enabler.
That's a very towards the end, that's a very good thing that you said, Saurabh. In fact, Steve Jobs said, start with customer experience and then work back towards the technology and not the other way around. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of our beautiful, beautiful session today. I had real fun interacting with Lau, Chitravani, and Saurabh. There was, in fact, just before we started this discussion, we had an amazing time sharing ideas and conversations around brand and what it means to the future. I know that it's customary to allow the audience to ask us questions, but we are way past our stipulated time. So I would request you to please put in your questions, and I'll make sure that I send them across to the relevant panelists or all the panelists and get them answered for you. You can expect an email from us answering your questions. Please do drop your questions in. Any questions, queries, even feedback, we'd love to talk about that. You've been a lovely audience. Thanks for joining in, and I hope the next time we meet, it is face-to-face. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amit, for moderating the session so well. And to all our speakers, Chitravani, Saurabh, Lauyan, so much to learn from each one of you. Indeed, the future will be for marketers who can communicate the language of the brand to external and internal stakeholders who can build that brand identity inside out. So thank you for joining us for this session once again. And to our audience, that concludes this session. Thank you for joining us. Coming up next is our CXO Mega Panel discussion on Thrive, Not Survive, Defining a Different Normal. So do join us there. Thank you and take care.